Is cannabis legal in India?
Well, it's complicated. Marijuana, the narcotic which comes from the cannabis plant, is definitely illegal in India. But Bhang, which also comes from the same cannabis plant, is legalish.
That's what I thought. But what is bhang exactly?
It's an edible preparation made from the leaves of the cannabis plant. You know the cold drinks that are innocently served during Holi? Bhang lassi, bhang thandai. When you grind the leaves of the cannabis plant, mix it with milk and add some other condiments, bang bang, you have bhang.
A drink that's guaranteed to make you completely loopy. Makes you wonder, how could God-fearing Indians even touch bhang on a sacred day?
Because there is divine permission. Bhang is actually considered sacred. So we think. Let's take a closer look, shall we?
Yes, let's get the dope on bhang. Remember the story of the churning of oceans? Once upon a time, long, long ago, the gods and the demons got together to churn the ocean of milk. They wanted to get hold of the elixir of life that lay buried deep in the celestial ocean. They wound a gigantic snake around a massive mountain like a rope around a butter churn and began churning. As soon as the elixir came up, the gods made a grab for it. But in that frantic rush, one large drop fell on earth. A plant sprang up right there. And that plant was, you guessed it, the cannabis plant. Wait, there's more. All that twisting and turning made the giant snake quite sick, and it began to spit out venom. A drop of that deadly poison could corrode the whole universe. So, Siva, the Supreme Lord, intercepted the stream of poison and swallowed it. The universe was saved, but Siva was left with a terrible sore throat. Immediately, his wife, the goddess Parvati, poured a herbal syrup down his throat to soothe it. That syrup was Bhang, of course.
So Shiva devotees believe that Shiva loves Bhang. And Vishnu devotees in the holy town of Mathura have been consuming Bhang for ages in the name of Krishna. At the Puri Jagannath temple in Odisha, the idol is bathed in Bhang because it is believed to have purifying properties.
So there you have it. Our gods love it and we consume bhang to please them. Though, to be fair, in our scriptures there is actually no evidence of Shiva consuming bhang in any form. But some of his very ardent devotees, the Naga Sadhus and the Aghoris for instance, consume cannabis in various forms. These are men who have renounced all worldly possessions and live in harsh conditions. Their one big indulgence is cannabis. And perhaps that is why Shiva too may have gotten associated with cannabis. If our gods are okay with it, who are we to complain?
So does that make it legal in India? Like in most other places, cannabis is illegal in India. Growing, transporting, consuming, even merely possessing it is illegal. But our gods are said to drink it. So we had to find a way to keep bhang legal. So our Narcotics Act has a convenient escape route. It declares that anything made from the resin and flowers of the cannabis plant is illegal. Marijuana is made from the resin and flowers, so it is illegal. Bhang, on the other hand, is made from the leaves and seeds of the cannabis plant, and that is legal. But the cultivation of bhang is still illegal. So where does all the bhang come from?
Our Narcotics Act declares that growing cannabis is illegal and it could get you locked up for many years. But what about harvesting the leaves of the plants that grow all by themselves in the wild? There's plenty growing accidentally on the Himalayan foothills and God knows where else.
Harvesting the leaves is also illegal in India. So we have the government doing that job for us. We actually have government licensed shops selling bhang. And in India, we consume bhang openly.
Isn't that dangerous though, picking up random parts of the cannabis plant and converting them to bhang? It could be if you consume the wrong parts of the plant or if you consume too much of it. All parts of the cannabis plant have a resin in them. That resin is the drug material. The flowers have the highest concentration of the resin while the leaves have the lowest. Bhang is made from crushed leaves and hence is the least bit intoxicating. Other preparations like hashish, charas, ganja and keef, which are made from the resin or flowers, are way more toxic and definitely very, very dangerous.
So what does science tell us? The cannabis plant has hundreds of chemicals, and scientists are not yet fully sure which chemical does what. What they think is that one chemical, CBD, is the good guy, non-intoxicating, non-addictive, and with medicinal uses. They're also fairly certain that THC is kind of a villain, which is what gives the high. But the long-term effects of these chemicals are still being studied, and there is no consensus yet on what is definitely good, bad, or ugly.
So THC is the component which causes a lot of psychoactive changes. So you're likely to feel higher, you're likely to feel different, you might experience things in a different manner, and sometimes this can cause a lot of anxiety, though it has been also proven to have some anti-anxiety effects. But the risk is there is a population who is vulnerable because they have a genetic vulnerability towards certain type of mental illnesses, which sometimes when THC is consumed excessively can bring it forward. Now this risk is not there with CBD because it really doesn't act much in the brain, but it acts more in the peripheral systems, which causes pain relief, calming effect. And the great thing about CBD, it's been found to have no addictive potential.
But how do you know you're harvesting the right parts? Simple. Buy only from government licensed shops. Really. Just like there are government licensed shops selling guns and alcohol, there are licensed shops for Bhang too. In fact, the government has given a special license to the Industrial Hemp Association to cultivate hemp for producing packaging material. And what is hemp? Cannabis, of course, but with a very low THC content.
All this can make anyone's head spin. How did this whole cannabis thing get so complicated? Well, till the arrival of the Europeans, nobody in India really gave Bhang a second thought. The Naga sadhus and the Muslim Sufis consumed Bhang regularly because it heightened their senses to see things from a different perspective. The Hindu scriptures, the Ayurveda and the Atharva Veda, waxed eloquent about the therapeutic properties of Bhang. According to these texts, it heals all kinds of disorders, from hyperanxiety and epilepsy to constipation.
When the Europeans first came to India, they wrote of a mysterious substance called Bhang, which was used by mystics and saints. And then they found that Bhang was also used in local medicine, in which they had no faith at all. Unsurprisingly, most of the chronicles of the Dutch and Portuguese colonists were hardly complimentary. Then the Beatles came, and they were openly into the recreational use of marijuana and some other stuff. Suddenly, there was a whole generation of youngsters in the West who were hooked on psychotropic substances. The US, which was the worst affected, assumed that their problem was imported. They lobbied for an international ban on all narcotics, including marijuana. This put India in a dilemma. Here it was medicine, a religious tradition, and a social drink. But eventually India had to relent and ban marijuana. Well, sort of.
Does that mean cannabis is legal in India? It is not. But India came up with a rule book that keeps everyone happy. Cannabis production is banned, but the consumption of Bhang is not. The cultivation of cannabis is obviously banned, but what can anyone do about cannabis growing in the wild? Actually, even harvesting cannabis growing in the wild is unlawful. But the leaves, the government will do it for us. Feel free to buy Bhang from a government licensed shop.
And if that's not complicated enough, there are 3 rules governing cannabis in India. It is both a federal and state subject, so what is legit varies from place to place. But such ambiguity is not unique to India. Countries across the world have very varied rules depending on the purpose of use, the quantity, the place of consumption, and so on. And it also doesn't help that the words marijuana and cannabis are often used interchangeably. In South Africa, marijuana is legal, but consumption and sale outside one's home is illegal. In the Netherlands, it's quite the reverse. You can consume it at a coffee shop, but you cannot take it home. In the US, some states allow the recreational use of marijuana, while some only permit medicinal use. And by the way, the United States is the largest producer of marijuana in the world.
So to answer that, yes, there can be something called too much bhang. In terms of getting addicted to bhang, yes, it's very unlikely, but a person who consumes large quantity can get intoxicated, and that can cause altered mental state, confusion, sometimes even psychotic breakdowns.
So why exactly is the cannabis issue so complicated? Across the world, attempts at legalizing parts other than leaves have stirred up new debates and concerns. There are fears that allowing uncontrolled use of cannabis may raise new social issues. No one is quite sure what those issues could be, but so far, only a handful of countries have taken baby steps in that direction. In India, the current ambiguous system keeps all the related parties happy without rocking the boat too much. So there is a good chance that this is how it is going to be for some time. Did you like this story? Do like, share and subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back with many more stories.